morning, students. Myself, Professor Ganesh D R, working in Cambridge Institute of Technology in Department of Computer Science and Engineering. Last class, we have done operational controls. So right now, I'll be discussing about 8th semester UIT CSE module 5. So last class, we have done with operable controls. So now this class, we will be starting about selection controls. So in this class, we will be talking about all the possible ways of selection with respect to screen. The first kind of selection control is radio buttons, right? So radio buttons, we all know we use radio buttons when there is a concept of selecting only one option. So in the figure, you can see 3 ways of presenting the radio buttons is given: monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, annually, without border, with border, with some alignment given. So in all the places, we can select only one option. There is a difference between option which is selected or which is highlighted and which is not highlighted, right? So when we talk about the structure of the radio buttons, right, it can be left aligned, that is vertical alignment, or horizontal orientation can be given, right? When the border is given, right, whenever the border is given, the strength of the visual relationship will increase. Then, what is the advantage of this radio buttons? It is easy to access, easy to compare, and preferred by many users because the options should be very less, and only one option can be selected, where the user will not be confused to select more options. The disadvantages of this are it consumes screen space, it is limited number of choices, right? When we talk about vertical orientation, the space considered or the space taken is more, right? So that is the disadvantages. So in this slide, we will be talking about the different ways of how we should present the radio buttons and how we should not present the radio buttons. The first one is poor way of presenting radio buttons. Why? Because the label and the options, you can see the label, plan choice, and the buttons are not ordered properly. The next one also same, it is not ordered properly. And the third one also, there is no proper spacing between the buttons. And the fourth one also, there is no proper spacing between the buttons. So for which one button should be clicked, there is no proper identification. So little better is where they have given some space difference between them and they have improved little. But we can be still better by using the next figure, where we can see that they have given a grouping there, a proper vertical orientation and proper horizontal orientation is given. So this is something still better. But the best one is do proper grouping and do proper alignment. You can have a best presentation of radio buttons. Now, radio buttons will become more flexible or more user-friendly with the help of captions. Captions is also called as description. So where we can give description, it can be upper left justified or at the topmost of the border. So caption, if you give, it will become very easy for the user, which tells what is the list given below. What is that? The list is there below that, right? So horizontal orientation, I told, it gives you very best user space consuming, right? Then the keyboard equivalents are, as I told in the previous slide, it's something mnemonic, where we keep something mnemonics for everything and we store that in that particular value. The second type of selection control is checkboxes. Checkboxes is a one difference between, the major difference between the checkboxes and the radio buttons are, radio buttons only one option can be selected, whereas in this multiple options can be selected. So where for every option we have either we have toggle options. It is called a select or unselect. Means it can be on or off mode, right? As in the figure, you can see it can be selected or it can't be selected. 2 options is there: select on or off. So you can select n number of multiple options. So one figure which tells you that you can take. Once you take, if you don't want to select that one, you can untick it. So it gives you 2 modes, toggle between tick and untick mode. So left align the checkboxes and choice description. So now whatever we followed for radio buttons, the format has to be followed same here also. Advantages will be same advantages of your radio buttons, right? And one more is it can be more options can be selected, so it will be more advantages there. So it consumes screen space again if it is vertical orientation. Again, even if it is more options are given, it is limited number of choices only. Single checkbox is difficult to align with other screen controls. Where if you have single controls, it will be problem for the user to select that option. Now, as we saw the different ways of selecting or presenting the radio buttons, we will be seeing the different ways of presenting the checkboxes. The same alignment, so earnings and the labels are in the same line, it will be confusing. The buttons, checkboxes are below above, it is confusing. The checkboxes, don't know which checkbox is in the third figure, don't know which one, third line. Third line tells which line, which checkboxes for which label. Fourth one, again, there is no proper spacing there, which is confusing for the user. Better and still better images, you can see is where it is done. Grouping and little spacing is given. The best one, as in the radio boxes, the same way in checkboxes also. Then, caption. When you provide a caption, it will be very good for radio buttons and checkboxes also. And the very thing important is indication. There are three states here. When we talk about the checkboxes, we have three states. One is selected, other one is unselected. But there is one more option called as highlighted. Once the cursor is placed on that, it will be highlighted. So there should be some difference between selected, highlighted, and unselected ones. The third kind of selection control is palettes. So it is same as radio buttons. In radio buttons, we will use some text or some other numbers. But whereas in this palettes, we will be using colors or some patterns. So different states of colors. So something like light blue, little more dark blue, dark colors. Right? So advantages will be, so the persons who like pictures will be very easy for them to capture that. It will become catchy for them. Right? And it consumes less space than the textual radio buttons. Disadvantages are same as your radio buttons, and one more thing is efficiency will become less for scanning. Means eye issues are there. The vision problem is there. It requires more skill to identify which one to be selected. Caption, again, caption is useful for your checkboxes, radio buttons, and palettes also. For all captions will be same. It is used for description. Again, horizontal orientation will have you the best method. The fourth selection control is list boxes, where there are multiple values to be displayed, where we use the concept called as list box. Means it is used for displaying collection of items. Advantage is what? We can have more number of items, so it is unlimited number of choices, where it tells you what are the available options, and the entire box will be visible. The disadvantage is, as it displays more number of items, means it consumes more screen space. It often requires an action of scrolling to see all list choices. The list content may change, making it hard to find items. The list may be ordered in an unpredictable way, making it hard to find items. Box size, that is, your list boxes can have 6 to 8 options only. So the disadvantage in list size boxes, where the disadvantage of list size boxes can be overcome by multiple selection choices. So that is what we have two types of selections: single selection list boxes and multiple selection list boxes, where we can select single item and where we can select multiple items also. That is what extended and multiple selection of items. Now we can see the number of items selected can be also listed there. That is what the highlighters are for. Then the fifth one is list view controls. It is a special extended selection list control. So we have seen what is extended selection control. It is a little extension of that, where each list will contain an icon and label. So you can see in your folders, we have an option called as viewing part. The images in a particular folder can be viewed large, small, medium, or list, where it contains all the values. So next kind of selection control is drop-down or pop-up list menus. So major advantage of this is, where in the figure you can see country. United States is there. Once you click on the drop-down menu on the extreme right-hand side, the options will be displayed, so that the screen space initially will be reduced. The advantages of this drop down or pop-up is unlimited of number of choices. It conserves screen space, I told you, because unless until you click on that, only then it gives you the number of options there. So it reminds user of available options. The disadvantages here are it requires an extra action to display the list of choices. When displayed, all choices may not be visible, because if there are more number of options, should be scrolling should be done. The list may be ordered in an unpredictable way, making it hard to find items. So on selecting items, if there are multiple paths, then if the prediction is not according to the user prediction, it will be very difficult for the user to identify it. Then the next kind of selection control is called as prompt button, where the difference between prompt and drop-down menu is the prompt menu is a place where the information will be hidden. You can't see the information unless until you click on the drop-down, that prompt menu, a symbol. Right? You can see an inverted symbol there, that is V symbol, where unless until you click on that, you can't see what is the symbol there. So custom controls, where in this slide we'll talk what is the difference, how can we difference between the standard controls and custom control. For the items which is selected or the items which is not selected, how do you differentiate? So custom controls is a place where we give some extra identification or highlighting some particular values which is selected, or the particular values which is highlighted, or particular values which is not highlighted. So we have three options there. One is highlighted, selected, and non-selected. For all these three, we have to provide a proper image or a proper differentiation of the selection bit. So it should be a gray color, something like three toggles can be there. White means it is not selected, gray means it is highlighted, black color it is for selected. So we can have a differentiation between those three. So we will stop the class for today. So next class will be on presentation controls. Thank you all students.